Hey, I'm coming to you this week with a very special guest. This is my daughter, Alexandria, aka Allie. Allie, can you say hi?
Hi.
Now, most of you have prayed for Allie. Allie recently was hospitalized with pneumonia, and many of you just determined that you were going to go to God on her behalf and my wife and I want to thank you so much for praying for her healing in her body, and I'm just so proud of her. To have my little girl here with me today is very special. So anyhow, I wanted her to be with me and even to testify of the goodness of God. Matter of fact, what I'm going to say today is all about testimony. That's what I'm going to share. I'm going to call today's devotion God's testimonies established in your life. That's it. His testimonies established in your life. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read here from Psalm chapter 78, and then Allie's going to share her testimony today with us. It says in Psalm 78:5, "For he, God, established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children, that the children to come might know them." Speaking of generations. The children who would be born, that they may arise and declare them to their children, that they may set their hope in God and not forget the works of God. This is Psalm 78, verse 7. "But that the children would keep his commandments and may not be like their fathers, who were a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that did not set its heart aright, and whose spirit was not faithful to God." God instructs us in His Word to take the testimony, His testimony of faithfulness, His testimony of provision, His testimony of truth, and to establish it in our lives. That's really the whole idea of the Word of God being made flesh in us, being made in us. God's testimonies in our lives. You see, we encounter experiences through our circumstances all the time that give us the opportunity to have a testimony. What is a testimony? A testimony is really a truth concerning the nature and the way of God. It was the responsibility of Israel to share their testimonies with the fathers to the children, the mothers to the daughters, to the children. They were to translate the testimonies, the faithfulness of God, kind of like when they had walked through the Red Sea and the deliverance coming out of Egypt. The mothers and fathers and generations to come were supposed to tell their children about the faithfulness of God. I have my little girl here with me today, and I'm so happy, and I want you to speak up so everyone can hear you, sweetheart. But you just went through this pneumonia. And what did you find out about God during that experience?
That he gives you peace, because I didn't really know what was going on and I was really scared, but I kept thinking back, I know I'm not gonna die because I know God has plans for me and I know He's with me, so I kept going back to that.
Now, even in the midst of that, when you knew the truth that God has a plan for your life, because we're just talking real, and people can relate with you. Maybe they have children that have walked through things, or maybe they themselves are going through experiences that are hard right now. That was a hard experience. Were you scared?
Yeah.
Sure you were. How did you get through that fear?
I had my parents with me, and they kept telling me just to relax and listen to God, and I knew He was there. And there was this CD I listened to that was prophecy over me, and so I just was listening to God, and He just told me that I'm not going to get hurt because I know He has plans for me, so I wasn't going to die.
That's right. And now, Allie, one more thing I want to ask you today. How do you trust God now after going through a difficulty like that?
Just be reminded that since that happened, there's nothing to be scared of because He's always with me and He loves me and He's going to take care of me.
That's exactly right. People, you need to hear that He's going to take care of you. Now, did God cause that experience?
No.
But did He work through it?
Yes.
And that's what you need to hear. He's not causing your problems. He's not causing your crisis that you may be walking through or that in the future you may walk through. But God promises to keep His testimony with you because He's faithful. Now, our responsibility is to continue to declare it, to continue to speak out. I have a testimony because myself, 13 years ago, I had a severe case of pneumonia. And I'll be honest with you, when my daughter came up with pneumonia, I went back to that experience. But I also had to recall, I had to call to mind the faithfulness of God, how God supplied, how He brought me off of that sick bed when I was looking death in the face, and how God was able to heal my body just as He has for my daughter. This is what happens when you recall the testimony of God. Now you have a new point of reference in your life, a reference point of His faithfulness, a reference point of His provision. We're responsible to hand these down to our children. See, my daughter's 10, but she's a mighty warrior in God. This girl knows how to pray. She knows how to seek God and how to trust Him during adversity. And you know what? We make mistakes, don't we, Allie?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we've learned this. We've learned that we're dependent upon the grace of God. Hey, I love you, and I pray that Allie's testimony, this word, has been a blessing to your life. And I also encourage you, tell your friends about us. They can go to cotrfam.com and just fill in their name and email address and subscribe to get these weekly. We want to spread the word, and you're going to be hearing testimonies this year. I'm going to bring people on with me that can testify where the word, again, is made flesh, where you see God's truth visible, evidence in someone else's life. That's what Allie is, and I'm so proud of her. God bless you.